So I was wildly mediocre in my youth athletic career. Outside of a walk-off hit to win the championship in Little League, which I admittedly still have video proof of, I never found much glory on the field or on the court. To drive this point home, my senior year of high school, I threw more touchdowns to opposing teams than I did to my own. 2 touchdowns for the opposing side, 1 touchdown for the good guys. Not a great statistic. Despite my lack of success, I've always had a love for the game. The camaraderie, the lessons learned, the perseverance, the blank slate that a new week or a new game provides. But I always thought the true benefits of sport were reserved for those who found victory in their efforts, which I clearly did not. In 2008, that all began to change. My twin brother and best friend came back from Nicaragua with a story that would set the trajectory for my journey. One night, as other events were taking place inside, their attention was drawn to 2 youth kicking a ball back and forth in the front porch area. Upon joining them, passes back and forth quickly shifted into a game of 2v2, but the pitch was too small. A simple point to the street changed everything. Within moments, makeshift goals were constructed. Youth came flooding out of the shadows to form 2 larger teams. They put the ball on the street, and a spirited competition commenced. Language was a distinct barrier for them both, the majority of that trip. But in that moment, it wasn't. Despite their inability to verbally communicate effectively, they found connection in a game. Now, sport as a universal language isn't a novel idea. There's research on it. People have been champions of this reality for decades. But when they shared their experience with me, the power of sport became palpable. The ability that a game has to bridge a gap became evident. My eyes were open wide starting in 2014 when I had the opportunity to work alongside peace and reconciliation organizations in the island nation of Sri Lanka. Members of my own generation who had witnessed the horrors and destruction of civil war were bringing together the next generation to inspire them in a new pathway forward. One that didn't demonize another for their differences, but rather one that celebrated these differences as a unique component to our human condition. At the Future Leaders Conference in Ampara, Sri Lanka, I saw young people from different communities cheering each other on in the spirit of competition on the pathway to victory, despite the fact that their families would have been on opposite ends of the violence during the Civil War. The following year, at the Global Unite Summit, I saw Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Muslims sharing laughs, sharing joy, sharing connection over a shared love of a game. It wasn't just a language barrier that sport could overcome. It was belief systems. It was ethnicities. It was backgrounds and experiences. The field, the court, was able to unite and be an entryway into deeper conversations of healing. Those experiences transformed sport for me. It wasn't just about the winners and the losers. It was about the capacity that a game has to build a bridge, to be the front steps to the necessary dialogue of pain, to address things that ail humanity. And it wasn't any longer about what success in sport could do for me in my own life. Those experiences made me realize that our young people need this space. But they don't just need it in the traditional sense of competition, which is important. But they needed this space to let down their guard, to let down the shields that we as humans have created to say which categories we fall into. This transformation of sport is what ultimately led me to work with young people housed in secure juvenile justice facilities, which has been quite a challenge. But if sport was an entryway to healing in a post-war context, if it could bring people together despite their differences, then what could a game do for the young people on the margins in my own community? And it started out as just, hey, these young people need to be moving more, and I want to provide them with an opportunity to move more, and that's important. But the path became crystal clear a few years back when I had the opportunity to learn about the neurosequential model of sport. Now, I'm no neuroscientist. I don't even consider myself to be an expert in anything, especially not the academic space. And I strongly encourage you to connect with those that know more about this than I do. But from a mile-high view, this is what they taught me. That sport is uniquely constructed in such a way as to provide patterned, repetitive, rhythmic activity, which allows our brain to find calm and feel safer. When we feel safer, we have greater access to the most human part of our brain. This greater access gives us a stronger capacity to be creative, to deepen our understanding on life, to contemplate the past, present, future, and our own role in it. The moment the brain begins to feel unsafe, it begins to shut down access to the most human part. And in addition to this avenue of regulation on a biological level, sport is uniquely gifted at providing the proper dose of stress. Controlled, moderate, and predictable doses of stress help produce resilience on a neurological level. So for the young people that I work with inside the secure facilities, they need connection. They crave belonging. They need opportunities to feel safer. And they need strong relationships with those around them that don't take advantage of a power differential or have requirements for opportunities to experience love. The past couple of years have provided an interesting point of connection in all of this. I've had the opportunity to coach football at a local private school, and I've had multiple days where I leave that campus and enter in to a secure youth facility. On paper, the backgrounds and experiences of these two populations of young people are drastically different. But from what I've witnessed, despite these differences, both populations of young people want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to have opportunities to grow. And if there's an intersection point in these journeys where these needs can be met, it's the field, it's the court. We can take the knowledge we've gained as humans, take a simple game, and be intentional with the play, the connection that a game innately provides. But we can also be intentional with creating safe spaces for young people where trust and relationships can grow. And we can structure things in such a way where we can help them produce resilience on a biological level. Standing before you today, I want you to know that I don't have all the answers, but I believe deeply that sport is a remedy, especially for our young people. Because if a game has the capacity to bring people together despite drastically different lived experiences, if it can supersede the barriers that we use to define and divide us, if it can be an avenue for healing on a biological level, then what could sport do if we used it as a tool to propel a different story forward? Connection is biological. We crave it as humans. Healing is communal. We need others to join us on this journey. Sport is the key to all of it. We can change the game for our young people. Thank you.